Welcome to Olaf's Oldtimer. Maybe this is going to be another driving episode. Maybe it's going to be a repair episode. I don't know yet, because this 190D has been driven 200, 300 kilometers from home about a week ago by Sweetness Heart, and she reported the car was, well, stinking. It smelled like burning. She couldn't see any fumes. She looked at the car, the rims were cold, so everything more or less was fine. So the car has been sitting now for a week. In the meantime, I drove out those 250 to 300 kilometers with the other car, and yeah, today I drive this car back, and yeah, we'll see. I'll observe everything closely before I started. Of course, I checked all the fluid levels, and the cooling fluid was a bit low. It was about half a liter missing. As I don't do any severe bookkeeping on this, I don't know when I last refilled the cooling fluid, but I think I already did it, and I only own this car for less than 2 years, so I don't know. In the cooling fluid there's no sign of oil contamination. When I look at the oil refill cap from the engine, there's no foam, no brown residue. Everything looks fine, smells fine. There's no loss of oil. The car received an oil change currently. So far I didn't have to refill anything on this car, so no oil consumption whatsoever. I didn't check the steering wheel fluid though, but in the engine bay there's no contamination, nothing wet, nothing is oily, everything is fine. So my biggest concern would be, where does the cooling fluid go? I remember on one of those drives the car ran very hot. It wasn't a terribly hot summer day with temperatures, I don't know, 20 degrees centigrade, which is, I don't know, 70 Fahrenheit, something like that. So nothing of concern, but I got stuck in traffic jam and the temperature gauge rose up over 100 degrees centigrade. So it was over boiling, but of course it doesn't boil because of all those additives and inhibitors in the system. So the engine did run very hot. I assume the whole cooling system is a bit clogged. Why ever? Maybe the radiator is a bit clogged. I don't know. Under normal driving conditions, even for this car, considerably higher speeds, the temperature is just normal. It's now just a slight bit over 80 degrees centigrade, so everything is fine. The car starts fine. There's no fumes from the exhaust, so everything is normal. But where did that that smell, that burning smell, comes from? One of my ideas was that maybe the cabin heater, those valves, maybe they lose some cooling fluid, which would mean it could run over some hot parts, and then it would, in my understanding, because I believe the whole system is inside the car, it would drop inside the cabin. So I did ask Sweetness Heart, please look under the floor mats, and not only under them, under the damping where you can see the chassis. If anything is wet there. She said no. I didn't double check, but then the car had been sitting for a week, so this is a thing I will check on my drive today. And yeah, I will do a short stop in 20 minutes or so, and then the engine is warmed up, and also the automatic transmission. I think you can see it is equipped with a transmission, so I can check that fluid level, which you have to do when the engine is running. and the oil is warm. Because under the car there is this, I think it's in the end it's noise damping, so there's a cover under the engine and under the transmission, so if down there oil would spill out and maybe drop onto the exhaust, could be possible somehow. That would explain why the car was smelling like something burned. Yeah, but I will check that in 20 minutes and then we'll be all the wiser. Otherwise, I expect a beautiful ride, and if this is the case, maybe I will change the camera position later on, and you can join me on a nice drive through more northern parts of Germany from east to west. It's still a bit early, it's 1:30 p.m. so we are not really ready for sunset, but the landscape is rather beautiful, so we will see what happens, so stay tuned. I think I found the issue why the car is smelling like burnt something, and I guess it's burnt oil. So I don't know how you call this, from the shaft lid, no, the valve cover, so the collecting the, I think the oil fumes up here, and bringing them back into the oil circulation. And look at this little thing. Here you can see it's attached nicely. Back there you can't see it, it's attached nicely, but here in the middle you can see it's oily. It's oily down there and it's oily beneath. And if I now push this back on, click, you can see that some oil spills out of it, but it should be tight again. Maybe when I'm back home I need to check if I can get myself a new rubber connector, but it looks quite nice. Ow! Engine is hot. So, click. Yeah, it's a bit loose. It's a bit loose here. So maybe this part here, even having a Mercedes part number on it. Focus. There you can see it. I think I need to renew this one because it's coming off right here, spilling oil. And as here, well, that's the inlet manifold, so that shouldn't be too hot. But down there, of course, the engine turns hot, and I assume this is what it is. So I hope you could understand and see what I just filmed on my phone. I really do believe that this is where the smell came from, the burn smell, because some oil was dripping there onto the hot engine somewhere. So on top of the valve cover there's an outlet, this rubber thing, and I believe it takes off the overpressure and the oil dust, which is of course existing there where the valves are moving openly and where the camshaft is moving openly. And this oil fume under pressure is brought back into the oil circulation from up there. I think that's what it does. And there's one outlet in the valve cover, but 3 openings to lead it back into the oil circulation, and one had come off, which I hope you could see. And this is where a really slight oil spillage was. So I fixed that on the parking lot of Famila. Thank you very much for that. Famila in Waren. It's still September, 29th September, and on a Sunday afternoon here in Waren, The grocery stores are open, so thank you very much for that, because now I do not only have coffee with me, but I also have some cookies with me. So the sun is out, so I'm looking forward to a very, very nice trip. And I hope you'll enjoy the following images. So, while we are at it, why don't we take a look how fast this car accelerates. Okay. This is full throttle. This would be 90. Okay, it's going uphill. 100. I think that was 23 seconds. I think that's not too bad for an old diesel. Otherwise, the car is still running perfectly fine. By the way, I will share some kind of wisdom from myself. I believe that in Eastern Germany, usually, especially in the older villages, not so much here where you see a couple of new houses built, that the houses are built alongside the road, while in Western Germany, in the villages, the houses turn to show towards the road with a short side. And here is another perfect example. The houses are built in line with the road. I don't know why this is, why they have that difference, but I think it's rather remarkable. I hope the car behind me doesn't mind if I stop real fast, because here alongside the road is an apartment building saying: Wahrhaft Liebende betrachten alles, was sie bisher empfunden, nur als Vorbereitung zu ihrem gegenwärtigen Glück. Without an author stated. Remarkable. Rural, small village in the east, and such a wisdom documented on the building. Very nice. Well, that's those fast guys pass. By the way, I don't know if you're familiar with this kind of behavior. It's not a standard, but it's very often seen, and it's a very polite way of indicating thank you. So if you see somebody in the rear view mirror coming up fast and willing to pass, maybe the car behind you can't see that well, but you can, and then you can indicate by setting your indicator to the right side: hey guy, you may pass. And maybe you even slow down a bit when the other car is passing you. And when the car has passed you, it says thank you by indicating left, right, left again, just to say thank you. I don't know if you do that in Great Britain or the US. I don't know. So far I've only seen it in Germany.
In 800 meters, turn left.
Like a racing car. Part of the trip, there is I don't know what it is. Is it an abandoned house? For sure it's an abandoned car. Actually, it's two cars. I think it was an Wartburg and a Subaru, an old one. not really sure. They're parked quite back on the property, on the private property. And I will see if I can stop there and take a closer look at those two overgrown, grown in, rotting away, sadly, cars.
Turn left.
And again, houses parallel to the street. Okay, let's take a closer look. And first I will take a look in the engine bay to check about the leakage. Looks good. And now let's look at the abandoned cars. I don't know if you can see it all that well, but back there are two cars. So just an old motorcycle stopped, and somebody said he doesn't know. Property abandoned. Probably owner deceased. Yeah, an old Wartburg. I won't go in here because it's private property. And up here, Subaru. Not looking too well. I'm not so sure how good this ramp is that the car is on. Yeah, Subaru 800 four-wheel drive. Amazing, but that's all I can tell you. Used to be a repair point. Mercury, boat engines. I guess that's all we can see. Always wanted to look at this, but you can't find out anything. Unless... oh, 1-800, of course. Unless you go ringing the doorbells at the neighbors. Very interesting, but we need to get home. Bad saying? McLaren. Quite the contrary what I'm driving here. Yeah, very amazing, those abandoned cars. Too funny that a guy on an old motorcycle, a Simson, stopped by, and yeah, he was looking a bit, you know, doubtful, suspicious what I'm doing. Yeah, so in the end I just tried to push the gate open, which did work really hard, and yeah, I did not ring neighbors' doorbells because yeah, I want to get home. The cars, if it would have been a Mercedes, I think I would have done that, invested the time. Yeah, the VAT book we saw, maybe you can help me out what year that might be. Surely from the looks, before the time when Volkswagen started to put their engines into those cars. So an original old, I think you call it two-stroke, Zweitakt engine, where you have to put some oil into the gas as well to make the engine running and lubricate it during running. Yeah, and the other one was a Subaru 1800. Don't know what exact model that is. Beautiful car, I think. But yeah, you could see from what you saw, I would say unsavable. So now we're going onto the Autobahn. Very often this acceleration is quite interesting, because if cars come up, you can't go into the left lane because there's other cars. Sometimes you have the feeling that the old diesel engine is a bit too soft, but today everything is fine. As you can see, we're already at 115 kilometers, and I didn't put it on full throttle, so I took it a bit easy. Yeah, and this is the noise you have at 130 kilometers. Rather decent, I'd say. Here's some wind noise. The roof and all windows are closed. This is 140. Travel speed, because the car is a lot less noisy then. Well, I didn't see too many classic cars today, but this one sure is one of them. Triumph. Wow. And this is what I especially like about this era of Mercedes cars. They're classic cars, they're historic, and they are so usable. So in these even older cars, convertibles, they're wonderful cars, and on a nice afternoon in summer, Sunday, on the country roads, that's just perfect. But you don't really want to go on the Autobahn to travel with those cars. And with this type of Mercedes from the 80s, they got rather modern tires, good engines, good fuel economy, and they are so usable. So right now we're going 140 kilometers. It's a comfortable ride. Got an armrest. In my case, I got some coffee. It's really a pleasant drive and a lot of comfort, coming with the joy of an historic car. Plus, in case something breaks down, as we've seen, very often you can fix it by yourself. that's really comforting. Well, thanks for joining me on today's ride. I almost made it home. Car, as I said, running perfectly well. Not a big thing. So from my side, stay safe and healthy. Have a great Sunday night, or whatever day it is when you watch this. See you soon. Bye.